Today on Nick's Collectible Creations, we're going to be building this DPM N-scale structure. This is Crickets Saloon. Of course, we can make it anything we want to. Very common building. And we don't have a whole lot of pieces in this. So let's go ahead and get this baby open and see what's on the inside of the bag. So on the inside of the manual here, we have our glass windows. We have our presumably roof. And we have the strip of styrene plastic that will be used to support the roof along the sides of the building here, the interior side of the building here. So here's the storefront here. And it looks like we're going to have to clean it up just a little bit. Very common for these kits to have to clean them up a little bit. But not too bad, actually. It's another little strip of styrene. We'll find out what that is for when we get to the manual. There's not a whole lot of pieces to this building, folks, so this is going to be an easy build. We like easy builds. So here we go is what appears to be the rear of the building. We have a door, the entrance for the front, and we've got our two sides right here. All right, and that's all we have in the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these up, de-sprue them, and we'll be back to take a little bit closer look at these. All right. We've cut the parts away from the sprues with the trusty flush cutters here. These are like $2 at Menards. We have a little bit of flash we're going to have to clean up here. It's not really anything big, but we do have a little bit. There's a little bit of a chunk in the window there. But overall, the detail on the building, the brick detail, is just, as good as you expect from a DPM kit. We have to clean up the little areas here where I cut it off, the little nibs that were there, like right here, and also these little things right here. Flush cutters get a pretty good job on that, but we still got to clean that up a little bit. So we're just going to take the X-Acto knife here and clean that up just a little bit there. Gonna give that a little bit of a rough smoothing out there. Okay, now I've also got some sandpaper, and if we have to get out the files, we will. Okay, that seems to be cleaning up pretty good, actually, with the sandpaper. I'll have to go with a little bit more aggressive sandpaper, but this is doing its trick pretty good here. And if we went with too aggressive of a sandpaper, we'd eat into the plastic too fast, so, just take it slow, get it done, get it looking good. Don't want to break anything off. We can just go ahead with our sandpaper and go along our base here. Sand that smooth there, nice and flat. Okay. I'm going to do that to the rest of these pieces, and we will be back. So the pieces have been shaved and trimmed around inside of the windows there as such with the X-Acto blade. So now I'm going to take this coarser piece of sandpaper, and we're just going to go ahead and sand these sides, the back corners here, just to kind of flatten it out. get a nice smooth surface on the back. Now these DPM kits, a lot of times these edges on these buildings is not quite exactly straight. So you're going to want to go ahead and just kind of angle it in. If it's straight like this, you want to kind of angle it a little bit like this. Look at the way the sides are tapered. Now on this back wall here, on this side, one of the, I'm assuming the front is going to go over it. Probably something like this is what I'm guessing it's going to be. So this side right here is perfectly smooth, whereas this side has the brick detail on it. So this side we do not want to sand this brick detail away, but this side is flat, smooth. There's no brick detail because it's going to butt up to the back side of the front wall right there. So we want to make sure this is nice and straight. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get into the roof detail a little bit here. The edge of the roof. I'm going to go ahead and sand that down a little bit there, and make sure that there's. I shaved this a little bit to get the flash off, but I'm going to go ahead and just hit this here a little bit. And also this will give us a nice tooth for the pieces to adhere to. Okay, so we're going to call that side done. Now we'll just go on to the next one here. Now we've got a little bit of flash on the bottom of this here. That I shaved it, but I didn't want to dig too deep, so we're just going to take care of that right now with the sandpaper. Get that baby nice and flat. And then this side is our brick detailed side right here. But we've got a little bit of flash there, so I'm just going to kind of lightly hit that just to knock that flash down there a little bit. The very corner of that brick detail, trying not to take it down too far. Okay. And we got the back side here yet again, or the front actually is what I think this is. Nice and smooth right here. We're going to go ahead and hit that side again. And now we're going to go and taper it inward a little bit there so we got a flat surface. Okay. Go ahead and hit the whole back here in one shot. Okay, so we'll do the same thing now with this side. We'll go ahead and just sand that down right there. Just do the whole side there. Go over the top here. That molding is right there. Okay, so I got the back of the building sanded, flat on here, flat on this side because these sides are smooth. We did the top and the bottom. Also did the sides here, sanded those. The back of the side, okay, back of the side where the back of the building is. This glues to the side of the back. So that brick detail wraps around like that. So sand it on the inside of this around here in case we want to do any paint on here. Also help to glue it here better and things like that. Sand it along the brick molding along the top here. Looks like I got a little bit more I got to do right here where those nubs is at that I sanded and cut off there to get that nice and flat. So a little bit of residue there from that, and we got rid of that guy just like that. All of our pieces are ready, so we're going to go ahead and lay these down like so. and hit them with some black paint. And because, while these are nice and thick, they do still let a little bit of light through. So we want to go ahead and hit the insides of these black. Okay, so the sides have been painted. They're cured. Nice green interior. Not really going to see that, but, you know. And we got the brown on the back side, on the sides and front. I think that's pretty nice brown. It'll lighten up a little bit as we go along here if we so desire. So now we're going to fill in the mortar lines, the grout lines. Well, I'm going to say mortar, that's more accurate I think than grout, because we're not tiling here, folks. The mortar joints. So I got this titanium white, a favorite of Bob Ross's right here, titanium white. And we're just going to go ahead and squirt this into our little palette right here. Plastic palette. And no, I'm not going to use too much of this because we're going to thin it out. Because we're going to wash it into the grooves of the brick here. I got some liquid to spray, drizzle, squirt, any combination of those things into that palette. And I'm going to take one of my trusty brushes here and find one that's not all hardened up. And here we go. And we're just going to go ahead and mix that in there. Now I've also got this, they call it charcoal, but it's kind of a gray color. And we may go ahead and put that in there instead, just so that maybe we want a little bit darker colored mortar in between the bricks. We're going to go ahead and get this stirred up here, and we'll see how this works, see how we like the look of this, and then decide from there how we will proceed. So let's go ahead and fill this guy in here. And you'll see variations in the mortar on these buildings as far as how white certain sections are. Maybe some have a little bit more, some have a little bit less, and there may even be white paint on some of the bricks. Building, yeah, they used to paint some of these, well, they still do actually paint these bricks blue, white. I've seen a lot of buildings that they look from a distance like they're solid reddish brown brick color, but then you get up close to them and you see all these little white bricks, painted white bricks. Didn't notice from a distance. It's lightened up that brown. It's also kind of weathered it a little bit too. I like the look of that. So if we decide that that's a little bit too much in certain places, we can always just wipe some of that off, and we'll just use a cosmetic wedge here to kind of go over that and break it off of the surface of the brick while still leaving it in the joint. And of course, how much you want to remove is entirely up to you. Okay. Well, I might play with that a little bit more, but that's what we got so far. So we'll just go ahead and, I'm just going to go ahead and repeat this on all of the panels here, and then we'll come back, see how it turned out. Okay, so I got the walls mortared up there, and I started painting the windows. I've decided to go out with a red on this one, and the red over the brown gives it kind of a nice weathered coat. Now this is a flat acrylic. It is this stuff right here, and it's a very flat finish, which is what I really like about this paint. But so we're just going and following the contours of the windows with a fine small tipped brush here, and we just carefully paint inside of there, and the paint flows very easily and nicely into the crevices of the windows. And we just do it a little bit at a time, reload the brush each time, and then we'll get a nice finish on the window and not all over the brick. I don't know yet what I'm going to do about this molding detail up here, but I may just still do that as a red to match the windows, or I might just leave it the way it is. I'm not really sure. Right now we're going to do the windows, and you can see the difference there in the red. That's with 2 coats. This is with just a single coat, and this is still drying, but you can see that there is a little bit of a difference there. So we'll just go ahead and do a second coat, and I will do the rest of the windows, and we will be back. So I'm just going through right now and doing some painting on the building here. We're doing some of the trim, and I painted all that gray around here first, you can see. Now I'm going over it with this coral blush. I thought it was kind of a nice, kind of a vintage, kind of a like 50s kind of a look to it. So that's what we are doing right now. It's coming along pretty good. I also gave the building a wash in the gray right here that I used, just to kind of tone down that white a little bit. And I think it looks better that way. So yeah, we are proceeding as planned, I guess. As the plan keeps changing, I guess we can say we are proceeding as planned. So I'm going to brush this on, and it's not going to completely cover the first try. I'll go over it a second time, and then we'll have a better coverage that time. I don't have the door entrance in here yet, as you can see. I'm going to paint that separately. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, and we'll come back and see what that looks like. Maybe I'll just change my mind and do something else. Alright, so I've got the front of the building painted up there kind of the way I wanted. I'm going to go for like an ice cream thing. That's why this is kind of funny looking like that. See, a lot of these buildings, they have interesting colors on the front of them, and I just thought, well, we'll do something kind of stupid. And we'll do an ice cream parlor cake thing, flavor, whatever of the month kind of a thing there. So yeah, we'll do like a ice cream / cake emporium or something like that. So with that building, but I'm just laying out the roof here right now, and I cut the strip. The strip was about basically 4.5 inches of styrene strip. So I just went in and cut it in 1-inch increments, and then the last little chunk was just about 1.5 inches. That's the piece I got in my hand right here. So I'm just going to use this guy for one of the sides here, and I'm just going to go down about as far as I think I'd want to go, and I am going to tilt it a little bit so that in theory water would run down the back of the, well, I don't know if I want to do that actually. I'm just going to go straight because then it's easier to glue the other side straight. Okay. We'll just dab some glue in there, let this wick it up. And, you know, plain old-fashioned Tester's model glue works perfectly fine on these buildings. So we're going to let that sit there for a second. And, yeah. So then what I'm going to do is need to cut out the roof, which I may end up using a black, I don't know. I'm going to either paint this, or I guess we could leave it white. Some roofs are white. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that, actually, because there are a lot of roofs that are white. So now that we've decided that, I also, this stuff does have a little bit of a texture to it, so I think it'd be fine the way that it is. I don't see any problem with that. There's a bit of texture to it, so that is good. We've got 2 sheets of clear glass here for our windows, so we won't have any problem using that. And I really don't think I would need both sheets, frankly. But we have it, and so I guess we'll, because I really just need to cut out a chunk for the back here, and then a little chunk for these on the side, and then maybe another chunk for the front here. I don't know. We might be able to just get by with 1 sheet here if we're careful, and then we can save this guy for another project. Never hurts. But you know, you can buy that stuff for like $1 at Hobby Lobby a sheet, so it's not too big of a deal. And we may not see that the building isn't exactly square. This is a problem with this kit, and I probably, if I had known this was going to be an issue, I probably could have finagled it into better positions. But as you can see, we've got a little bit of a pizza shape here. And this wall right here, right back here, I've got these 2 squared off, but this one, because I squared it off when I was building it this way, I believe, and I just assumed everything would fall into place after that. Well, this rear wall seems to be just a little bit bit wider. Well, a little bit wider than it should be. So it's kicking this wall out a little bit. I didn't realize that until after the glue had already set, and I don't have any interest in fixing it. These buildings are going to be right next to each other. I don't think it's going to be noticeable, personally. Even if I had this as an end building, once it's on the layout and you got cars parked on the side, I don't really think you would notice it. Hindsight being 2020, this being the year 2020, and today being January 2020 today, as I'm recording this segment, I would have shaved this wall down a little bit on both sides, sanded it down. But unfortunately I didn't know that. So usually these DPM kits score up pretty good as long as you score up the edges on here, which is what I attempted to do. But this is because the rear wall is just a little bit too wide. It's not something I see all the time on these kits, but like I said, next time I'll double check that before I glue it all into place. And so I would suggest anyone building this kit or any of the other DPM kits to go ahead and double check that to make sure that it's actually scored before you go slopping the glue down, because, you know, like I said, it's not going to be all that noticeable when it's on the layout, but the roof's not going to be square. So we're not going to be able to cut a perfectly square roof out of that. We're going to have to measure and adjust for the half-assed kiltered wall there. So it is what it is, as they say. Okay, so we got the glass in place and all that's looking mighty good. All that's installed, glued down. Looks pretty good for what I'm intending it to be, which is a ice cream parlor, cake bakery, soda fountain tank kind of a thing there. So I think the front looks pretty good for that type of a business. So I want to add some roof details here. Now the kit comes with a brick chimney, but I'm not going to use that. So we've got some vents in this Walther's roof detail kit here. We do have an AC unit. We've only got 3 AC units, and this is a small, medium, and a large. I don't know if I want to use any of those on this, but I definitely want to have at least a couple vents because we're going to have a bakery. We need a way to exhaust that, and we'll probably have a fart fan. So there's a few options here with fans and vents and stuff that we can do. So I'm going to come back when I've decided which one of these I'm going to use. I also need to weather the roof still, and then I think we'll basically be kind of somewhat done for now anyway on the building. I can always add more detail to it later as time goes on. But for now, just figure out what kind of roof detail we want to do on it. Alright guys, this is kind of what I've come up with here. And I'm just finishing this up a little bit around some of these spots here on the roof here, but got all this powdered up. I'm just using this little kit of pastel chalks right here. I got this at Hobby Lobby, pretty much like everything else, and I'm sure I got this on clearance because that's another thing I typically do is when they're on clearance, that's when I buy them. So I'm just using the pastel chalks here to kind of dirty up this roof a little bit, and kind of trying to get a little bit of a variation of dirt in some of the places here, like where maybe some water has built up and left a bit of a more staining there than some of the other places have. Now, truth be told, these lighter areas right here are because that's where the glue settled, and the powder doesn't stick to the glue. So what I did was I went over those areas with the little bit of sandpaper, trying to roughen it up a little bit, so now the powder has a little bit of something to grip into, but that's okay. That's okay. So I've already gone over the whole building here and kind of weathered the sides here a little bit, and did a little bit of streaking pattern under the windows. The front kind of did the same thing here, kind of powdered the brick up here a little bit, kind of changed the tint of it a little bit there, and again on this side. And I put a little bit of red on this side, just a few of the bricks got a little bit of red on them there. Kind of variation, maybe there was some paint on the building at one time or something. And again on the back I didn't do too much to. I just kind of gave it a light dusting real quick and called it good. I found it when I was putting this in, I forgot to put that glass on this side, so I had put that in. I went over after I powdered it, I went over it with a Q-tip to clean the powder out of the windows here. Or at least as best I could. There's actually still a little bit of powder in there, but let me just clean that, get down a clean spot here. But it actually works pretty good because it makes the windows look a little dirty. So kind of gives the windows just a little bit of a dirtiness to them, fogs them up just ever so slightly. So I think right now, after I powdered this thing, it really made it look quite nice. It really changed the whole look of this building. So let's clean the front windows a little bit better there. Kind of just gives it a nice fogging of the windows there. Kind of makes the windows look like they're just a little bit worn from age, but I'm quite happy with the way this has turned out, actually. You know, it's a little bit here and a little bit there to get you to the steps that get you to the end result that you're looking for. And I think that it's definitely, it's got a little bit of weathering to it now. It doesn't look like this was just freshly built yesterday or, you know, literally an hour ago. But, you know, it's got a little bit of patina to it now. It looks like it's been in use for a very long time. And yeah, I think this is going to be a nice addition on the layout. So let's go ahead and throw this guy on the layout and just see what it looks like. I haven't put any black paper on the inside yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I may make a floor, an interior situation, make basically like an interior, maybe with some people, and then just put the whole thing in there as one piece. But for now, I'm just going to leave it open until I get, this is more, I need to get these buildings done, put together, so I have placeholders if nothing else while I'm building the rest of the layout, so I can do scenery and figuring out parking and sidewalks and streets and things like that. So anyway, let's go hit the layout and see how she looks compared to the rest of them there. All right, so let's see how this guy looks. Now this is a Woodland Scenics kit, although these are DPM kits still. Let's go ahead and this one I still need to finish up. This is a old Concord kit. That one actually. Let's go ahead and move him down a little bit. I think that'd make for a good theater. Which is what it was. Well, I mean, that's what it is a theater, I do believe. But I also think that might work pretty good as maybe a boot store or something like that. But anyway, let's go ahead and see what this looks like right next to that guy right there. Put it close to it here. I wish that this, that doesn't lay very flat. It must be, the door is sticking down a little bit. Well, I'm going to have to take care of that. Other than that, though, I don't think that looks too bad. Have a little bit of room there between the buildings to walk between. I guess this Woodland Scenics building does have some stuff on the side of the building for utility and getting up on the roof and stuff there, so would need to have access, obviously. So maybe space that just like that, maybe. We could have a car parked there, getting some ice cream. We've also got this parking lot now. I was kind of intending on this parking lot. Let's go ahead and another car coming. Kind of intending on this being a parking lot kind of for this row, this business row right here. And we can also, if nothing else, we could also put it on this side of the street too, although I don't really have much room there to do that with. But anyway, we'll just put him right back over there. Don't know if that's going to be the permanent place for that building, but see what it looks like next to the other building there. I like that. I think that's a good look. Now I just got to get some signage on it, but I think that's going to be a nice look once we get the sidewalk done and get a foundation on it. And I think that's going to look pretty snazzy there. So we could have another parking lot right here or something. Let's go ahead and put the Odos right here, which is a building I got off eBay that I definitely need to do something with. Now, normally on a street scene, you see these buildings are all built together. So we're just going to go ahead and snuggle these two up right here as if they were built together. Right, one smack dab on next to each other there. And let's go ahead and set the storefront back to be even there. Yeah, not too shabby. I like that. I kind of like the 50s coloring of that building, and I think it works out pretty good for an ice cream parlor, cake making bakery thing. I like it. You can see through the windows there too. Look at that. Ooh, that's pretty cool. I think that turned out pretty nice, guys. I think that turned out pretty good. I'm going to start rating these kits from 1 to 10 on like how easy they were to build, detail, flash, overall. Were they complicated to build? Did it require a lot of filing or sanding, or did they go together square? Like this one isn't, it's really not that noticeable though. But anyway, that's a little bit wider on the back than the front. But I think I'm going to give this kit a solid, probably a good 7.5 out of 10, simply because of the back wall is not quite, it's a little bit too wide, and it would require some cutting of that wall to make it straight. That's really a big hit for me. There was a lot of little flash in the corners of these windows too, and the door. I had to cut a lot of that out, which is not to be unexpected, but um, and yeah, I mean, I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10, guys. This is a nice kit. Definitely deserves a green light, but it's not quite. It's gonna need some work. This kit right here, this Woodland Scenics one, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's a little more complicated, but I had no issues putting that together. And these are actually basically the same, aren't they? The details over the windows is almost identical on there. It came out straight, it's straight and square, and yeah. So I give that one 8.5 out of 10. It did have a little bit of flashing issue, but not really too much. Not really too bad at all. I'm going to leave a little bit of room, obviously, for improvement, because you can always improve these things. But yeah, definitely a good. Both of those are a good kit. I didn't build the Odo, so I couldn't tell you about that one. But I'm sure that's probably a pretty good kit as well. I like the kind of worn look of the sign right here, and I think I'm going to leave that. The only thing I'm going to do with this is the roof, and maybe put some kind of an interior in it. But I kind of like the way it looks right there. It might give it a weathering, a little bit of weathering too. But that's a nice kit. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, positive comment, all that fun stuff. And we will see you again right here on Nick's Collectible Creations for another build. Peace out, everybody.